What's up, everyone? It is your Man on Fire mentor, David Mailer, and it is an honor and it is a privilege to always be spending time with my brothers. So today, we are going to dive into a critical topic here. We're going to take a deep dive into the center of that fire. And where are we diving? We're going to take a discovery into how do you know when it is time to end the relationship. Now, for anyone out there listening, I am mainly speaking to the men right now, although a lot of the principles here are universal. It could go in both directions, but I'm speaking specifically to the men, being that Man on Fire Rising is a company that is seeking to help men show up more powerfully in all areas of their life, especially their relationships, so that they could be the protector, the guardian, and the gatekeeper to the heart of the feminine. And this is a topic that so many of you have struggled with. How do I know? How do I know if she's the one? How do I know if there's somebody else out there for me? How do I know that I didn't settle? And on and on and on. The hamster wheel turns, and you just get caught up in a sea of these thoughts. So let's have a few understandings before I really dive into this topic. Number one, in the Man on Fire world, we are never here to tell a man whether or not he should or should not be with his partner. Let's just say, for argument's sake, we're referring to a wife. We are not here to tell you if you should or you should not be in the relationship, whether or not she is or she is not right for you. What we do with Man on Fire in one of the domains that we help men in, which is relationships, is we are here to help support you in birthing into, growing into the highest level of truth that you have accessible, available, and would feel responsible enough accepting and acting upon. So we are here to bring a deeper illumination into your heart. And let me just know that you guys could hear me right now, because my team was supposed to alert me and I don't see any messages. I'm assuming that you guys could hear me right now. I see Fabian out there. All right. Beautiful. Congrats. Welcome, Fabian. All right. So what was I saying is that we are here to support you guys in coming into the truth that is in your heart. And good. Michael says it sounds good. Thank you, Michael. And for those of you that are tuning in late, we're not here to tell you be with her, don't be with her, stay with her, break up with her. No man should really have the rite of passage to tell another man what to do. And what's really behind that for us is in my, 55, I started my personal healing journey somewhere around the age of 22, 23. So call it 30 plus years. What I can share with you of my short-lived life is that more often than not, advice is not pure. Advice has a tendency to come through the filter of someone else's hurts, someone else's wounds, and possibly even someone else's agenda. And I'm not saying that it's conscious. Many times we try to get people to see the world the way that we see it and hold them through the lens that we're seeing it. And we don't realize that we do this because we don't want to change. And one of the strongest forces that we're going to go to great lengths to protect is called our identity. And the preservation of one's identity is the force that you'll have to overcome in this lifetime. To make it very simple, what am I talking about? It's the surrender from your ego to your soul. It's letting go of who you think you are and how you sold yourself to the world, and actually embracing the congruence of who you are as a man. And most men aren't going down without a fight, right? Because we still get pulled by the earthly pleasures, and we want the quick fixes, and we want out of pain, and we want pleasure, and we want the quick fix, and we want out of pain, and we want the pleasure. So we make ridiculous decisions that destroy our life and other people's lives. But I don't want to go too far off on a tangent right now. So let me come back to the relationships. So what I shared earlier is that it's not for us to tell you whether or not somebody's right for you. We're here to amplify the signal in your heart so that you can get with your own truth. Well, how the hell in God's name do you guys help amplify the signal in a man's heart? Well, the work that we do at Man on Fire is all about moving you from your head to your heart. It's all about taking all of this intellectual information that you've accumulated through books and other means and actually learning how to drop it down into your body. Because once it's in your body, you could own it in your life, you could live it in your life. If it's just in your head, it's just information, and most people don't act on information, and you won't have it showing up in your life. That's our specialty. Now, coming back to relationships. I'm going to read you guys a quote. It's such a beautiful quote. We read it to the guys all the time at our 4-day immersions, which is our signature event. We just finished one up in Massachusetts. Congratulations to the 20 plus men that came through those 4 days and literally exchanged versions into a more congruent version of who they were born to be. So here's the quote. Are you guys ready? Are you ready? Here we go. Perhaps the biggest mistake that I've made in the past was that I believed love was about finding the right person. In reality, love is about becoming the right person. Don't look for the person that you want to spend your life with. Become the person you want to spend your life with. I'll read this quote one more time because I think it's so profound. Perhaps the biggest mistake I've made in the past was that I believed that love was about finding the right person. In reality, love is about becoming the right person. Don't look for the person that you want to spend your life with. Become the person that you want to spend your life with. All right, even just that, put in the chat, whether you're on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, all those beautiful social platforms out there. What are you hearing in what I'm sharing? What did you hear within that quote? What spoke truth to you? What could you say about that? All right. Now, so how do we know when it's time to end the relationship? Well, something that I share with the men all the time at our immersions and within our community is, and I'm going to hit you guys, is it okay if I hit you with a more advanced concept? Okay, good. So the person that you're with and how you see them, more often than not, is a direct reflection of your lens. Meaning for who you are, for where you're at in your life, for what your frequency is, for what your vibration is, for the level of consciousness that you're currently operating at. More often than not, how you're experiencing your partner is really in relationship to where you're at, more so than anything else. Well, what does that mean? What that means is that if you are resonating at a lower frequency, meaning you're not really fully aligned with who you are, you haven't done the work, you haven't made a commitment to your growth as a man, you're still making poor choices and watching pornography and masturbating and leaking your energy, thinking about other women when you're in a committed relationship, a marriage, you're poisoning yourself with perhaps alcohol or weed, and you have all of these different vices, and you know that you're truly not living into your most full version, into your true potential, your lens of how you're seeing life, your lens of how you're seeing the woman that's in your life, your partner that's in your life, is in relationship to where you're at. You're watching a movie, but you don't realize you're the one that's projecting the movie. You're the projector. And so many guys will complain about their lady, she's cold, she's distant, she's this, she's that. They have all these complaints, and they're completely out of touch with they're experiencing her based on where they're at. And she's in response to where you're at. Meaning you're giving off a radio frequency, you're giving off a signal, and your signal gets broadcast out there, and then people that are in tune with that frequency answer the call. Just like you want to tune into one of your favorite radio stations, you tune into it and you hear the music that you're supposed to hear. Well, everything that's showing up in your life, from your career to your health to your relationship, is in relationship to the frequency you're giving off. Said differently, to the level of consciousness that you're currently residing at. And so more often than not, a man will seek to change his relationship and prematurely end the relationship, thinking that she's the problem. The relationship's the problem. I'm okay. There's nothing wrong with me. It's that she's cold. She's distant. She doesn't want intimacy. She's not open to love. She keeps blaming me. She keeps saying it's my fault. And you're out of touch with the fact that everything that she has shown you in the relationship very well may be in relationship to how you've been showing up or not showing up. Now, let's have an exception to the rule. If you have a knowing in your heart, a knowing beyond the mind that your relationship does not serve you at the highest level, it's not honoring to your soul. In fact, I'd say that you're betraying your soul. And many men will say, yes, I knew I wasn't in love with her. Yeah, I knew I shouldn't have married her. Yeah, I gave in to the peer pressure. Yeah, I just, I overrode my own truth, my own knowing. So deep down, I believe that just about every man knows. Now, knowing beyond mind, which means you don't need reasons, you don't need to use thought, analysis, reasons, and logic to come up with your answer. You don't need to draw a T-chart and have pros and cons. What you need to do is know it out, not think it out. Most men try to think it out. They try to come up with this master plan. And you're relying on your mind to make all these decisions when the reality is you should be relying on your soul. You should be relying on your intuition. You should be relying on your spirit, your spirituality, your heart, your ability to call in this information. So most men truly know. So what's the problem? The problem is they don't want to take responsibility to what they know. So then they start making decisions from their mind because they're terrified if they get it wrong. Then if I got it wrong, it means I'm not good enough, it means I'm stupid. If I'm stupid, I'm unworthy. If I'm unworthy, I'm not good enough. If I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of love. I'm undeserving of love. So what's the point of my life? I might as well live alone. Now, if you have a knowing that somebody is not right for you, there's no way around that. There is no way around. There is no negotiating with your soul. There is no negotiating with your highest level of truth. And if you have overridden your truth, if you have self-betrayed, then naturally betrayal will come back to you in the relationship and you'll have more and more complaints about your partner when at the end of the day, you just didn't have the courage to end it from a place of trusting yourself and choosing love, respect, dignity, grace, empathy, and compassion to end the relationship, to free yourself and to free your partner. This happened to me when I was about 31 years old. I was with an amazing woman, but I just had a soul knowing that I couldn't be with her any longer. There was no reasons. My friends would say, why? What's wrong with her? What's the matter? I'd say, nothing. She's perfect. So why are you ending it? I just have a knowing. I have a knowing and I refuse to dishonor my knowing. When I dishonor my knowing, it ends up causing pain for me and pain for everybody else that's involved. So, roughly 13 months later, she had thanked me because she was able to meet her soulmate and create a beautiful baby in this world. But, the 13 months prior to that, there was anger. There was, upset towards me. But by me honoring my deepest core truth, my knowing, and taking that courageous responsibility, I did myself right and I did right by her. Everyone wins when you honor your soul. Now, let's come back to some other scenarios. Here's another thing that happens, is that when a guy joins our community, what I end up telling him is, unless you have a soul knowing that this woman or your partner is not right for you, and I say your partner because there are many men that we work with in our community that choose a man as their partner. And so I don't want to just say that it's just man to woman, but primarily the majority of the relationships that we work with are more heterosexual. And so unless you have an absolute knowing that this person is not for you or that the relationship needs to come to closure, and by the way, the knowing doesn't need to be connected to any reasons. In fact, I would argue that if you have reasons, if you have stories, justifications, it's really probably not from your knowing, it's coming from your mind. Whereas with a knowing, it's more about, I just know. And you don't need to know why you know, you just know you know. You just know that you know and you're not willing to dishonor what you know. And also when it's coming from a knowing, you're not really talking about the other person. So more often than not, a guy will say, well, because she's this, well, because she's cold, well, because she's distant, well, because she won't take down her walls, well, because she is too masculine, and you have all these reasons, which that has nothing to do with a knowing. That has to do with you feeling unsuccessful. That's a whole nother topic that we could talk about. So what do we tell a guy when he joins our community? I don't mean these free social platforms. I mean that we have different coaching programs. One is called Firestarter, one's called Ignited, that allows you to come to our 4-day signature event, which is our Men on Fire Rising 4-day immersion. And when these guys come to our 4-day immersion, what do we teach them? What do we teach them in our inner chamber, which is when you journey with us for a year? We teach them, unless you know, our suggestion is don't leave the relationship. Don't leave the relationship until you've taken a full year to work on you, to grow you, and to up-level how you're showing up in your life, to start moving closer to your potential, to start crushing it in business, to start reclaiming your vitality in your body, right? We have lots of challenges in our brotherhood led by Professor Joseph and some of the other men where you just get in tip-top shape and you feel amazing. You're fueling your body with vitality. And we have people in our community that are teaching you how to crush it in your business. And until you're completely in a space where your filter has changed, where you've grown yourself as a man, where you've gotten through old stories and excuses and justifications and lies that don't serve you anymore but protected you, right? It protected your ego, but they don't serve your highest good, your highest nature, your deepest soul's truth of living into coherence of who you truly are. Until you've done the work for a year, what we're suggesting is that your sight is skewed. What you're seeing is not the real version of the woman that you're trying to get rid of. What you're seeing is her in response to who you've been. You see, for the relationship to change, you must grow, you must up-level, you must transform, you must grow into the next version of you. And then you will start to get a glimmer or a glimpse of who is this other person, because all of the stories that you have about her have only been in relationship to the relationship that you have to your growth. And your filter for her won't change until you've changed enough. Now, more often than not, when a man will grow and he starts to see life differently, you start to experience life differently, you start to move from your head to your heart, which is exactly what we help men with in our community, moving from your head to your heart. Imagine that. The sacred 12-inch journey from your head to your heart. This is what a woman wants from you. Get out of your head. Stop being a robot. Stop being analytical. Stop using thought, reason, analysis, and logic to bypass intimacy and passion and spontaneity and playfulness. Where's that guy? So what ends up happening is that as you start to grow, as you start to change, the energy you're giving off is different. And now the people in your life, especially your significant other, your wife, all of a sudden she shows you a different version of herself because she's now feeling safer in your energy field. She's starting to allow the walls to be taken down, the coldness, the bitterness, the harshness, or maybe even the apathy all start to dissipate and disappear. And the person that you so wanted her to be, all of a sudden she starts revealing herself. And this whole time you've been waiting for her to become that person. And you failed to realize, from what I read in the quote earlier, you have to become that person. You're the nodal point. You're the master grandfather clock. Tick tock. Her rhythm will eventually attune to yours. Two women that live together, one changes their menstrual cycle to the one with the strongest rhythm. She's in response to you. Everything that you've been seeing about her, this person you're trying to push out of your life, this person that you're trying to get rid of, who are you trying to get rid of most likely is a part of you. The parts of you that you don't like, that you can't identify with, that she's showing you, have all these judgments about who she is and you can't see, that's really you. Oh, but you don't understand, David, she did this and she cheated and she's cold and she's bitter and she's harsh and she's always complaining and she doesn't listen to me, she doesn't respect me. I understand that most likely you don't understand. You either have been dishonoring your soul knowing to get out, and you don't need a reason. You just need to have courageous action and take responsibility to what you know, or what I understand is that you most likely haven't grown yourself enough. And it's easier to see the flaws in her and complain about all the things you don't like about her rather than grow and cultivate yourself enough as a man. Because as you grow, she too will start to feel the safety to reveal her heart, to open up to you, to allow the bricks and the wall to come down, to restore the trust, to restore the passion, to restore the intimacy, to restore the communication, to restore the love. How about you show her the real version of you? How about you have more passion? How about you move from your head to your heart? How about you start crushing it in business? How about you get on mission and purpose in your life? Live a life of purpose by serving your mission to the world. How about you start crushing it with your health and your vitality? Eating healthy, oozing vitality through your veins, where people want to be around you because it's so infectious. Now, most men that aren't doing well in life, it's so easy to complain about the other people. It's 10 times harder, 1,000 times harder to look in the mirror and recognize you may not like who you're seeing look back at you. And I'll bring you back to the quote that I read earlier if you're just joining me late on this live, where we shared that perhaps the biggest mistake that I've made in the past was that I believed that love was about finding the right person. In reality, love is about becoming the right person. Don't look for the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. Become that person. Become the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. Don't look for that person. Most likely that's an illusion, right? Otherwise all the Hollywood romances would last. There's projections that we put into the space. And next thing you know, the honeymoon phase ends in the relationship, and all of a sudden you're ending the relationship. Now, I truly feel, and I have witnessed and experienced personally, that your greatest growth as a man can come from going deeper into the relationship, and most likely more at times where you want to get out. Right? Guys, I want to get out. I want to be able to breathe again. I just want freedom. I don't need this headache. I don't need this stress. I don't need this crap. I don't need this shit. I don't need it. And then you want to run. You want to run. Right? My dad used to say to me, one day I'm just going to disappear. I'm just going to run away. What did that really mean? The piles of responsibility are getting too big, and I don't think I can handle them. And so it's going to be easier to run. And a man tends to do that in a relationship. Well, because you're terrified to feel like you can't succeed. So I can't make her happy. There's nothing I could do. I get her the bigger house. I had another kid. I got her the nicer car. In fact, she drives a nicer car than me. I got her the jewelry. I take her on vacation. What else does she want? I can't make her happy. That's what a lot of you are thinking. And you don't realize, well, why would she be happy? You've become the pleaser. You become the yes man. You disrespect yourself. You've allowed your boundaries to be violated. Why should she respect you? Who are you? Who have you been? How have you been showing up? Who's looking at you when you look in the mirror? Have you owned your voice? Have you owned your truth? Have you dropped from your head to your heart? Have you done the courageous work to actually move from your head to your heart? Maybe some of you listening, and maybe a lot of you haven't. So I would invite you guys to consider that the woman that you're currently with, where you might be considering getting out, for a moment, just imagine cradling her as if she's a little baby, and you see the purity and the innocence in her eyes before the world was harsh to her, before the masculine failed her, before maybe her father failed her, or her boyfriend failed her, or her husband, or maybe you, her first husband, or maybe you. Somebody along the way hurt her. Physically, maybe sexually, mentally, emotionally. Remember who she really is. Remember the sparkle of the baby. Remember her as a little girl, where she still had her innocence and her purity. Where did it go? I'll tell you where it went. She could no longer trust and no longer feel safe to stay open. And more often than not, men in their immature masculine, men that haven't done the work, that haven't grown enough, that aren't living from their hearts, have created and contributed to the closing of the feminine heart. So the question is, do you want to be one of the men that helps her heart open again and create safety for her heart to be fully revealed, for her heart to sing its song, dance its dance, and show you who she really is? Or do you want to be one of the guys that complains and thinks that it'll be better once I'm with somebody else? And maybe it will be, but you won't need reasons for that. You just need to know. And if you have a knowing that she's not for you, again, with grace and dignity and respect and love and empathy and compassion, end it. End it. If you have a soul standard for what you want out of life and she's not that person for you, then honor her by freeing her to meet somebody that will go all in on loving her. And if you can't do that, then do the right thing. But most of you haven't done enough work on yourselves. Most of you haven't grown yourself enough, and your lens is cloudy. It's blurry. This version of her that you're seeing, you can't see that it's really you that you don't like. It's who you've become. It's you avoiding stepping into your true potential. It's where you feel inadequate and unworthy and not good enough because you're not living your life at the standard required by your soul. So of course you'll become more nitpicky and judgmental of your partner. Of course. Who are you? How have you been in your relationship? Are you proud of that? So, in the Man on Fire world, gentlemen, we hold a man accountable to living into his true potential. We hold you accountable to rising with more passion, power, and living a life that's deeply on purpose, where you're clear on your very mission as to why you were born, why you're here, the bigger picture. We support you guys and challenge you to move from your head into your heart. We pave the way for you to crush it in business and have vitality coursing through your body. We're all here to rise into our masculine leadership, but so few choose it. No, we take the easy path of complaining and blaming and naming and shaming and judging and projecting. I invite you to be one of the guys that has the courage to grow himself. Grow yourself where your lens of how you're seeing the world and what you're attracting back into your life is exactly what your soul has been hungry for. Will you be one of those guys that rises to that challenge? If you're truly ready to grow and you're clear that you want support, you want challenge, and you want to be held accountable and held to the fire of your true potential, and you're at that point where you recognize, I don't want to do this alone anymore. I don't want to bullshit myself anymore. I'm ready to reach my hand out and ask for help. I'm ready to make an energetic, a time investment and a financial investment in myself as a man. And I want to explore if Man on Fire and one of its coaching programs are right for me. Then type below in the chat, I am ready. Big fat capital letters, I am ready. And someone from my team will reach out to you by messenger and see if you're truly ready to have a conversation to explore if Man on Fire is the next best step along your journey of growth. Gentlemen, before I sign off, if you would be willing to do me a small favor and honor me by smashing up the like key, throw me some fire signs, hit me up with some comments as to what was your big aha today? What was your greatest takeaway? What was your greatest takeaway? What did you learn? What resonated for you? And for anyone that was listening to one of these lives on one of the various social platforms, do me a favor and share it. Share it with a friend that you know needs to hear this. And, guys, start immersing yourself in a culture of other men that will hold you to the fire of holding the feminine as reverent, as sacred. None of this crap talking behind your wife or your partner's back where you're not speaking kindly. How about we start to preserve and protect and guard the sacredness of the feminine heart? How about you choose to grow yourself as a man so that once again we can hold this space for the feminine and we can rise, we can grow our consciousness, and we can start being of greater service to humanity. That is what Man on Fire is all about. And if you're resonating with me, you're resonating with our community, we'd love to see if we're the next best step that can support you in your journey of growth. It's with so much love and so much gratitude, gentlemen. It is your Man on Fire mentor, David Mailer. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you on the next time I'm live, which will be next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. So much love to you guys. Put in the chat, I'm ready, if you're ready, and give me your final comments. All right, so much love, guys.